Welcome aboard. Need help? Use help tutorials.
Yo, Orca Hurricane. Round to the right. Use mouse as a mouse. Close canopy. Round to the front and down a bit. Throttle to 30. Both magnetos on. Prime the engine. Start the engine. And immediately throttle down so it doesn't run away from me. Now centre of the screen, back to being a stick. That's off centre. Oh well. Actually looking straight ahead, it's central. Engine working, controls working. Let's get the heck out of here. Now, allegedly, you only throttle up to 30%, otherwise it'll pull itself over on its nose. But, sod it. Up, retracting undercarriage. Somewhere over there is the sunrise. There. And this is Leeds-Bradford Airport. With its main runway 32 and 14. And this Crossways taxiway here. And from that junction, from the airport in general, it's close enough. If you check the map, from there to Blackpool Tower, it's just very slightly south of west. And very slightly south of west is there. So we are at 1,000 feet above the airport. And I'm going to try to hold it on this bearing on this altitude. for anyone not familiar with the old aircraft cockpits, or aircraft cockpits in general. Thing in the top left with the red lights and green lights is undercarriage state. Green lights is locked down, red lights is locked up. If you ever hear a pilot say turning finals 3 greens for landing, is referring to 3 green lights there indicating that all 3 sets of wheels are locked down. This being a tail dragger, it only has 2 sets of wheels, port and starboard, which has P and S there. Top right is the engine RPM, cruising along. In the central group, in the upper row, left of centre, guess who's going too far south while it's up. Left of centre is the speedo, which has 2 circles because the needle can go around it twice, at least 1.5 times. Bottom left in the outer circle is 0 up to 250 miles per hour, and then you go to the inner circle from there up to 400. Yes, these things are fast. Upper row right of centre is a thing marked climb and descent. Climbing down for descent, climbing up for climb. That's in thousands of feet per minute. So yeah, 4,000 feet up in 1 minute. Military aircraft, it had to be able to do that kind of thing. And these days we just like being able to do that kind of thing. And the military ones are a lot faster. In the lower row, in the centre, is the compass. And it is set up to stay the same way round and have the aircraft rotate around it. So if you want to be going slightly left of west, you want the W for west, left of centre, which is sometimes difficult to get your head around at first. Right of that is a control side slip indicator, or turn indicator or something like that. Don't worry about it, doesn't do much. And to the left of it is the altimeter, which has 3 hands on it. A tiny one for tens of thousands of feet, currently pointing up at 0. A short one for thousands of feet, pointing at 1. And a long hand for hundreds of feet, pointing just under 1. Meaning I am currently 1,080 feet above whatever is set as 0. Obviously the weather changes, that thing's based on air pressure, so you have to adjust it to say 0 or where you want it to say 0. If you're flying locally around an airfield, you adjust it to say 0 with you sitting on the runway, so you know how far above the runway you are. If you're flying up and down the Yorkshire Dales, you get a report of the weather for the day and what the sea level air pressure in the middle of the Yorkshire Dales would be if there was sea level in the middle of the Yorkshire Dales. And then he set it to that, and if you're flying long distance at high altitude, you just use a standard atmosphere. That's way up, I'm nice and low, and probably flying from Leeds-Bradford altitude at the moment. I'm having a bit of a twitchy right hand problem. The little white cross that's sliding around all over the place is my mouse cursor, which indicates the input. Obviously I have this stick with a loop on top of it in between my knees as well, also indicating input. And that's what I'm doing with the controls to make the plane fly as it does. Another major control is of course the rudder. So when you test that, that is controlled with your feet. Push down with your right foot to make the rudder go to the right, your left to make it go to the left. And you should actually use it while you're rolling. If you just move the stick to the side to roll the aircraft without touching the rudder controls, the nose is likely to come up as you go into a roll and really sink down as you roll into a turn. The nose comes up. As you roll back to level, the nose sinks hard. So use a little bit of right rudder as you roll right to begin a right turn, and quite a lot of left rudder as you roll left to level up and finish that right turn. And at the sides of the cockpit you can see other major controls. On the left side we have the throttle. Let's see it. 35 was it? Or 30. And on the right, that red handled stick is the hydraulics. On the left it does undercarriage up and down, on the right it does flaps up and down. I didn't test them because this is a flight sim and they always work. And I'm going south again. Keep drifting to the left. The flaps are parts of the back of the wing that can extend backwards or fold downwards, or both, in various ways, which change the shape of the wing from a sleek, high-speed wing that is meant to let you go fast to a longer, more curved, low-speed wing that has more air resistance and therefore slows you down, but also provides a lot more lift at low speeds and allows you to fly more slowly. So they're really handy when you're trying to land the plane and you don't want to do 200 miles per hour along the concrete. Oh, it's looking very coastal. It doesn't look like Blackpool Tower to me. Let me have a look over to the left. There we go. That's it. Isn't all that far off. I actually tried this yesterday and did a much better job of it. I came in across the airfield down there, turned right and could see it straight away. But unfortunately I recorded that at 2 frames per second, which, you know, a bit sucky. So I thought I'd leave it for a while and come back and try again. Negative Ghost Rider, the paddle is full. So, I'm going to have another go, but I'm going to change the weather. I'm going to make it a little bit more realistic for Leeds-Bradford Airport and Blackpool. Especially Leeds-Bradford Airport. Okay, that should suck. I've got a boundary layer down here so I can still kind of land. This is above ground level, this is above mean sea level. Like I was saying about the altitudes, you set it based on what you're doing. Set it for the airfield or for the region or for a standard day. Okay, this could get interesting. That'll do for lineup, turning west and climbing into that turbulent cloud layer. There we go, let's just level off there. Fairly important question, where the bloody hell am I? I'm up there. Which could be considered interesting. I'm definitely pointing somewhere between west and bearing 24. So I'm flying somewhere between that direction and that direction. But I'm travelling in this direction. Why? Well, as I mentioned in Aircraft Are Not Dots, because I'm flying in a wind that's blowing this way at 50. I'm doing 194 miles per hour at the moment in that direction through air that is going roughly that way at about 55 miles per hour. I'm doing maybe 3.5 times its speed, so that should be a 2 in 7 gradient between where I flew and where I ended up. 7 that way, 2 that way. And there's a navigation exercise. If you want to fly from there to there, and at 197 miles per hour now, and the wind is blowing that way at 55, What course should you steer, and how fast will you be covering the ground? Well, you can do this with vector triangles. You can get a piece of plastic that you lay on a map and mark to do this. How fast the plane flies through the air is a circle with a radius. If we call 200 miles per hour this radius, it's going to be somewhere on a circle out here in one arbitrary unit of time. Wind speed 50 miles per hour going this way would be quarter of that distance there. What I want is to be somewhere on that circle such that to that circle and a quarter of its radius north puts me on a line to, well, Blackpool Tower is somewhere here, but we've got Blackpool and WTN airfields here. I pick one of them and pick a line to it, straight line from me to that, and then from somewhere along there draw a line 1 wind speed south onto that circle with a radius of 4 times wind speed. I think that's from about there to about here. So I want to fly approximately this bearing. Now you would do this properly on paper or on a computer these days, but I reckon sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 that way, and 1 that might be much. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4 times that far that way, and 1 times that far that way puts me on course. Of course, how fast I'll be going on the ground is just that distance, about a little more than 3/4 of my airspeed. So I want to be aiming here, which is about 220, I would say. So how do we do? Not bad at all. Considering I eyeballed it, really not bad at all.